dealing with delays at Aldi, but that was expected. Proof of those blue lights I was talking about. Picking up watermelons in South Florida. Talking about some of my radio days as requested. And Hypnotizing Rusty on this episode of
the Clutch Trucker Channel.
Clutch Trucker, filmed before a live and furry studio audience. That is Rusty, the world-famous meatball dog. Hey YouTube, Clutch Trucker here. Thanks for tuning into another edition of the Clutch Trucker Channel. Coming to you live from the Clutch Trucker Studios, currently located at the TA in Wildwood, Florida. Where at least I got a shower, thank God. It was so hot last night, I couldn't believe it when I delivered at that Aldi. And got some, just as I was pulling up, there's only 3 trucks in front of me, and look at this. Here's a perfect example of why I'm so glad I don't do reefer anymore, because then you're spending most of your time at grocery warehouses, and they are notoriously slow. They never seem to have their crap together. Aldi is one of the worst. So I'm here for my 1 a.m. appointment at Aldi Sunday morning, the 15th, the 15th, down here in Florida. Royal Palm Beach, Florida. And there's 3 trucks ahead of me waiting to check into the guard check. Just 3. And I've been waiting here almost 15 minutes, and we haven't moved at all. Why is it taking 15 minutes to check in 1 driver? Which means by the time I get up to the guard check, it's going to be after my appointment time of 1 o'clock. I got here a half hour early. You know trucks are coming. You're expecting them. Why is it taking 15 minutes to check in 1 truck? I've said over and over and over in my videos, Costco seems to be the only one that's got it together. Safeway's terrible. Aldi's terrible. Some other grocery warehouses I can't even think of that I've been to before. Oh, the truck is actually moving, so maybe they're finally done with that guy. Ridiculous. Yeah, I was there at 11 or 12:30 Eastern time for my 1 a.m. appointment. I didn't get up to the guard check till 12 or till 1:10 to get checked in. They got me to a door right away. They got me unloaded fairly quickly. But then it took them another, 2.5 hours after that to get me my paperwork. At least I took a little nap. And then they took long enough that then they said, well, I could just stay there. And I'm like, oh, good. Because I needed to waste another hour because the watermelons were 2 hours away and they weren't starting till 8 o'clock. So I took Rusty out again, gave him some breakfast. I cooked up some chili berries, a beautiful thing. And went and did the watermelons. Very bright out here this morning. It's about 8:30 Eastern time. Over here now in, outside of LaBelle, Florida, at this Frey Farms, getting my load of watermelon. About the last 10 miles or something to here was all dirt road, but luckily it's not raining or anything. So backed up to the dock now, and they're going to start throwing on the melons, baby, yeah. Alright, well, just got loaded up with the watermelons. See the road I had to take to get here. This is going back out. Like I said on the way in, thank God it wasn't raining this morning, or this road would just be a mud pit. It's that really light, sandy dirt stuff. You can see to the left there where trucks have kind of sunk in a little bit, so you got to try to follow the harder path so you don't sink in. Now that this is a full load, it's only supposed to be 40,000 pounds. It's around 41,500. But thanks to the Appway, no scale truck scale, I was able to scale there on site, make sure I got it looking like I'm all legal and everything. I can even add some more fuel, so I'm going to try to do that. Stop at the TA in Tampa, TA Express there, and top off the tank because it's cheaper there than it is in northern Florida by about 45 cents a gallon. And when it's so expensive, every little bit makes a difference, baby, you know what I'm saying? Thank you. So, here we go, and we're rolling, and if that TA is notorious for not having any open spots even in the middle of the day, but I'm hoping I can get an open spot there just long enough at least to take a shower, because I would like to get showered and like to be fresh. It's a little warm down here in Florida. It's already, 80 degrees this morning, and of course the humidity's off the chart. I just don't handle humidity well. Hello, Mr. Ram. So, I don't think it's going to be much better in Mississippi, but that's, It is what it is. Oh, and before I forget, I talked I think it was my last video about the purple lights. Well, I got proof of that, although these were more blue. But they're definitely blue. They're definitely a color, and I'm sure this wasn't planned. Take a look at this. All right, look carefully to the left. You see they're kind of your typical whitish color, and all of a sudden, look, they're blue. Coming out of that rest area there to the left, and on the whole northbound side of the interstate, it's blue. You can see the blue reflecting off the pavement, for crying out loud. Blue! Somebody had suggested in the comments that whoever provided those lights to a lot of these cities and so forth are having to now give them refunds and replacements because they shouldn't be that color. And they obviously did something wrong in the manufacturing or something. Blue and purple streetlights, it's just a little odd, you know? It's like, this ain't Mardi Gras, you know what I'm saying? I'm just trying to frickin' drive. Just here waiting for somebody to fill this space next to me. There was a Hirschbach truck backing in, and it looked like they were going to take the one next to me, and they ended up not. But, you know, this is one of the scary situations where you see the trainer out there trying to guide the other person, and you're like, oh no. At one point, they were this close to my grill guard. Here's something frightening. This woman's been on the road 3 days. This lady over there is helping to try to train her to back in. And they're trying to hit the spot right next to me. So needless to say, I am not closing my curtains or anything until I know she's parked safe and sound next to me. But they ended up sliding one more space over, and the space next to me sticks out a little bit further. The curb is further forward than the one I'm in. So it makes me a little nervous, so I'm just kind of hoping somebody comes in here soon and parks so I can relax. Because right now I'm a little on edge, kind of, you know, this is the problem about these truck stops. You're always afraid someone's going to take your hood off or something. But like I have my grill guard on there, and I've had people back into me twice with the new grill guard. United Van Lines had to buy me a new one after the first one got ruined, after they backed into me in Troy, Illinois. I've got search at the very bottom of my videos because it was one of the first things I ever posted. I had like 5 open spots to my left, 3 open spots to my right, and he still managed to back into me. How do you do that? He really had to work at it. But, you know, I know they got to train the new guys. I was there. We've all been there. It's just, you know, you get a little nervous watching the new ones, you know, get real close to you. For those of you newer to my channel, you may not know that, you know, I spent over 20 years in radio, and a lot of people put down in the comments, they say, boy, you sound like you should be on radio or TV or something. Have you ever done that? And yes, I have. That's the answer. Like I say, well over 20 years I was in radio. My wife was in radio with me. We're each on to our second career. She's now a special education teacher in Cheyenne, in the school district there. I'm a truck driver now. But yeah, I spent over 20 years in radio. And that's actually why I started doing this channel in the first place. Was I missed that kind of that entertainment, you know, outlet. And so I started doing these videos just for fun, to give me something else to do that was kind of my entertainment outlet or something, my chance to, you know, be creative and stuff. At the end of the day, that wasn't driving. It was a good way to wind down from the road and everything else. That's why I started doing it. But yeah, it's been over 20 years in radio. Somebody had just recently asked, well, can you tell us more about that? And, you know, what was your name on the radio? And my name was Clutch. That's where Clutch Trucker Channel came from. Once I got into trucking, I just kept using that as my CB handle. Handle means that's your name on CB. And so I just continued that on from there. I had various different names in radio. I was Sunny Day Maxwell at one point. I was Coyote McCabe at one point. And then I was Clutch. Based on that old stupid cartoon show Clutch Cargo, where they had the real lips in the cartoon. It was kind of like that thing Conan O'Brien used to do. Anyway, my wife went by Kiwi on the air, so we were Clutch and Kiwi, married in the morning. We did a morning show together when we owned our radio station in Wyoming. We also did a morning show together when we were on Kiss Country in Grand Junction, Colorado. But yeah, when we had our own radio station, KYOD, in Douglas, Wyoming, yeah, we were Clutch and Kiwi, married in the morning was our little thing. So that's where all that comes from, and that's why maybe you say, well, you have kind of more of a presence, like you should be on radio, or on TV or something. Well, that's where all that comes from. I have no problem getting in front of the camera or getting in front of public and public speaking, stuff like that. I know that's like one of the biggest fears for the majority of people is public speaking. I have no problem with that. So, as you can tell. So that's where all that comes from. So yeah, I was Clutch on the air, on the radio. And so I just kind of moved that over in here and became the Clutch Trucker channel. There you go, baby. I don't put on as much of that radio voice as I used to on the air, you know, where it's more like, you know, well, that was Alan Jackson, and now coming up in the next half hour, we've got to look at, you know, weather forecast, you know, kind of typical radio voice. We kind of called that puking, is what it was, where the guys who really went over the top with it, that was puking. Those guys were like, stacks of wax and mounds of sounds, hey, it's 1490 AM, we are coming up next, you know, that was really puking. But basically used the kind of voice I use now. Although a lot of times people would come up to me and they say, well, you don't sound the same as you do on the radio. And I said, well, in a close conversation, if I were to come up to you and say, hey, it's going to be 68 degrees today, we'll look for partly cloudy sky, it's going to be a 30% chance of rain tonight, and mostly sunny tomorrow with a high of 75. You'd look at me like, who the hell, what the, you know, don't need to scare people. So yeah. But anyway, we had our own radio station. And I got a great little story about Don LaFontaine. If you don't know who he is, if you ever went to a movie in the 70s or the 80s and 90s and early 2000s, and they have the previews, he was the announcer guy on all of those trailers, movie trailers is what they call them. And he was the guy who would always say, in a world, one man decided to take on, you know, something like that. And then it was always Schwarzenegger, Mia Farrow, Thelma and Louise 2. This time, it's serious. Anyway, Don LaFontaine was the great guy. He was on everything in the 80s and 90s. And I found his website one time while we had the radio station. And I emailed him and said, look, I know you make millions of dollars a year doing these, you know, liners and the stuff for the movie trailers. And we have, you know, the stuff you'd hear in between the songs where it was like, this is KYOD, you know, that we call those liners. And I said, you know, what would you charge me for doing a couple of liners for my wife and I for our morning show? And a couple of days later on my email, he had recorded like 5 or 6 liners for us. And he did it in that great Don LaFontaine voice. It was, you know, Clutch and Kiwi, married in the morning on KYOD. It was so awesome, and he did that for free. And I was like, this is an awesome guy. I thought that was really cool. You might know him. You remember that old Geico commercial where he's standing behind the microphone and the woman saying, well, when the rain hit, you know, we thought we were going to lose everything. And he says, in a world where the storm came. That's Don LaFontaine. Unfortunately, he died a few years ago, but he was on all the movie trailers. Awesome, awesome guy. And the fact that he did that for me and my wife at our radio station, we couldn't afford to pay his price. That is a really cool stand-up guy. He didn't have to do that. That's awesome. But we eventually sold our radio station, this was about a little over 12 years ago when I got into trucking, to Dennis, who owned KKTY across town. Our radio station was KYOD, 100 FM, 100.1. And KYOD, we called it Coyote, so it was Coyote 100 FM. It actually was licensed to Glendo, but we hit a lot of little towns in Wyoming, so it was always KYOD, Glendo, Douglas, Glenrock, Lusk, Wheatland, and Casper. Anyway, so that's where all that comes from. I know I've probably bored some of you, but some of you wanted to know. And you might have even heard my voice on some commercials, because sometimes we'd send them out nationally. And also I did liners for a few other radio stations over the country. And so you might have even heard me at some point in the 90s or the early 2000s somewhere else. You never know. And now, just to be silly, I was screwing around with Rusty while he was sitting over here on the seat. And I was like, I'm hypnotizing you, Rusty. Okay, Rusty. Watch me. Listen to my voice. You're getting sleepy. You're getting sleepy. Oh, look Look at those eyes getting heavy. Lay your head down. Oh. It almost kind of looks like I was, doesn't it? It's kind of silly. Anyway, so, well, hey, I know this was just kind of a weird, it was kind of a few different things, but a lot of people have been asking, and people keep asking every now and then, yeah, you sound like you should be in radio. Well, I was. And it was a great career. I loved it. You just couldn't make any money at it. And, you know, as we had kids and everything, needed to support the family. And so last few years, we had the radio station. I was driving coal miners to work in Wyoming. I got my commercial license, my Class B. And I was driving like Greyhound style buses. That's where I learned how to double clutch and shift and all that, a bigger transmission like that. And so when we were thinking about selling the radio station, possibly, then that's when I just went ahead and got into trucking full time, and that's where it's been for over 12 years now, baby. Yeah. All right, well, thanks for tuning in for that one. And just if you want a little history on Rusty, I was in trucking for almost a year before I got him. The first company I worked for was May Trucking. Stayed with them about 7 months, then I went to Well Companies, and they allowed you to have pets. So I got him at a shelter in Denver. He stayed at home for about a month or so with the family, and we kind of helped house train him and stuff, and then he went right out on the road with me, and he's been with me ever since. So it's been well over 11 years you've been with me now, right, dog? The excitement is just beyond belief. Thanks for tuning in. As always, please subscribe, please like and comment. I'll get your comments as soon as I can. Sometimes it takes 2 to 3 days because I'm a working truck driver. Don't forget to ring the bell for notification. There's Clutch Trucker on Instagram, Clutch Trucker on Twitter. Oops, you slipped. And as always, sniff that magic YouTube fairy dust. Clutch and Rusty, out. Yes, I had to come over immediately. I'm afraid Angelique is suffering from brake fluid. Brand flavor. You mean brain fever? And we must get out of this restaurant because her brain could literally explode. Yes, her brain could literally explode within the next 3 houses. 3 hours? Yes, 3 hours. He's poised and ready. There it is. Oh, there it goes. No, it's behind you, Don. There you go. You found it. Got that good sniffer. Sniff that one out, baby. Sniff it. Sniff it. Sniff it good. Burner, burner, burn. Woof, woof. When a begging strip comes around, you must sniff it. And you gobble that thing down, you must sniff it. When something's going wrong, you must sniff it. I said sniff it. Sniff it good. All right, loving that stuff, right, Rusty? All right.